Luca Nation, welcome back to Lucas Tigers and Bronze. We're going to do a short hitting episode. We're just going to talk sports today. We've got football, Thursday night football today. Eagles, will they stay undefeated or not? We got the World Series going on, which is, even though the last two games have been blowouts, I thought they were pretty cool, right? You had 5 home runs for the Phillies a few nights ago, and then you had a no-hitter, which was super, super cool, like a team no-hitter. You've been getting into it a little bit of back and forth with some people on the line, which I think is just good fun. And then we had basketball last night, a ton of good games. Garland was back for the Cavs. The Warriors went down to the Heat 2 nights ago. So we'll just talk sports today. Luca Nation, we got Mr. Cage here in the house. How you doing, man? Anything top of mind for you? I know you're dealing with a sick kid.
They should have found a way to make the Rockets play the 76ers tonight. That's what the NBA should have done. The Rockets should have played the 76ers tonight.
Interesting. I see what you're doing there.
Because not only are the Astros from Houston playing against the Phillies of Philadelphia, but tonight's Thursday night game at the same time is the Houston Texans against the Philadelphia Eagles. So in both sports, the same towns are playing against each other at the same time. If the NBA could have figured out a way, I mean, it's crazy scheduling. You know what I mean? To have the World Series night, week during the week on a Thursday, also the same cities playing against each other. If we managed to get the trifecta in there, that would have been really cool. So
I didn't realize that until you said it.
Yeah, so it's the same towns playing against each other.
Texans, Eagles, Astros, Phillies, and then Rockets, Sixers.
I think the Eagles are a much safer bet to beat the Texans.
What have you been watching the most last week? Baseball, basketball, football?
Well, I've watched every minute of the World Series.
You've watched every minute of the World Series? Well, let's talk about that. What have you noticed?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's still an all or nothing thing. I saw a fun stat. I forget who the hell posted it. Since they've been doing it, the team that won the Taco Bell steal a base, win a taco giveaway has won the World Series 80% of the time. And that's a ridiculous stat because it's like, all right, whatever, who steals the first base? But if you think about it, we talk about winning championships and that things that work during the regular season don't always work in the postseason.
I heard Taco Bell, but what you were saying there is the team that stole the first base in the World Series wins 80% of the time.
Yeah. The team, well, because the Taco Bell giveaway is the team that steals the base first wins a free taco for America. So the team that stole the base first so what I did is if you peel that back a little bit, you'd like to think that the team that steals the first base is probably the more running team, the team that plays more small ball, the team that plays more station to station and can produce runs by getting on first, singles, walks, generating a run by stealing a base, you name it. And I mean, listen, it's all anecdotal, but that seems to have played out over the course of this giveaway. Just like we say in football that the playoffs often is the team with the best defense and run game and can control the clock is the team that does it instead of, the team that can just toss the ball all over the field because playoff football is a little bit different. You're against better defenses. You can't do all that stuff. I would think at least what that stat would show would be the team that plays the small ball. The Astros last night, they generated runs. There were singles, there were, timely hits, 2-out hits. There was a walk, a hit by pitch. Like they strung a bunch of stuff together to score their runs. Whereas Philly, the night before, their home run hitters were hitting, and so right now you'd like to think, look, the Phillies were the ones that stole the base. It's Schwarber, not exactly, the prototypical base stealer, right? But I think both of these teams can play a little station-to-station baseball. But clearly the Phillies recipe, I think, is mashing, especially at home. The Phillies recipe is more akin to the Yankees recipe. And we saw last series for the Astros, the Yankees home runs didn't get hit. They didn't score. They weren't there. Both teams have very good pitching. It's a very interesting series. I'd like to think that teams will realize that when it comes down to it, you have to have timely 2-out hits. You have to be able to get a single when there's a runner in scoring position. When you got a guy on second base, you got to be able to bring a runner home. We talked about this with Houston and Seattle. Remember that 18-inning game, right? Where all you needed was to score a run. Like, you figure somebody's got to generate a run somehow.
I think Seattle led for 2 of those 3 games, right?
Seattle was ahead, yes. Seattle, 2 of those games were all the games were pretty close. And this, even though the outcome, like you said, is not close, they've been compelling games to watch. They've been interesting storylines. You don't want to be no hit in the World Series. It's only happened twice. Ever.
I'm with Schwarber. I don't think it matters from game to game. You know what I loved? Dusty Baker with his little toothpick and hugging. Was it Javier? Is the pitcher?
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty cool, no?
Yeah.
You don't see that all the time with managers.
Look, he got a little bit of the slack for leaving McCullers in when he was potentially tipping pitches to the Phillies. So it's nice to come back and have that for Dusty Baker. So
I'll tell tipping pitches.
What'd you say?
What does that mean? Tipping pitches?
It means you're giving off something in your mechanics that the other team can see, can notice.
And that's on the manager to spot that and say he's got to come out.
Everyone should be watching that. If they're on your pitches before you're throwing them, if they seem to know that you're hitting the fastball or you're waiting on an off-speed pitch and it looks like they know what's coming, then yeah, you have a whole team, bench coach, you name it, you have a pitching coach. They're supposed to catch that. I don't know if it happened. It certainly looks like it happened. It certainly looked like McCullers was throwing from a different angle when he was throwing, an off-speed pitch. The leg for the fastball, his leg was coming up high enough where it actually got into the glove, into his glove. And when he was throwing his off-speed, he wasn't kicking his leg as high. Can't say that that's, the whole deal. But so Dusty Baker, the manager takes a little bit of the brunt of that. If your team gives up that many home runs and it looks like maybe the pitcher was
doing that, Cage, wouldn't there be more than 5 home runs? Like, you got to throw more than 5 fastballs.
No, you still have to hit it. You still have to. Even if you know, you don't know where it's being thrown, you don't know the whole, and even fastballs come in at different velocity and different location on the plate. These pitchers are great. It's not just okay if he puts his leg here, it's gonna be fastball dead center.
Okay,
it's just they're allowed to kind of cheat. They're waiting on fastball or waiting on an off-speed pitch. And if they get it, they get it. It doesn't. He still had a bunch of strikeouts. It's the same thing as the Astros banging on garbage pails. They knew a fastball was coming. When I say it's the same thing, that's cheating. This is not.
Yes.
Tipping pitches is part of the game. What I mean is the ability to still hit it. The Astros weren't hitting a home run on every single pitch.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It just gives a little bit of an advantage. That's what I mean. Same thing. The advantage is the same.
Well, what I meant is if in the dugout, they're like, anytime he does this with his foot, it's a fastball. You would think that they would just be hit after hit after hit because he's still got to throw fastballs.
So,
right.
Have you ever gotten into a batting cage and tried to hit forget about 90? Tried to hit an 80. It's really impossible. I can't do it. It's very hard.
I got up to 75, and 75 is fast.
And you get a piece of it.
We think I was 60. I was like, whoa, that's fast.
That's like a knuckleballer.
Yeah, but I'm not a pro baseball player, so I'm not.
Me neither. But even the pros, a lot of people go up there and guess. I saw an interview with Derek Jeter, and he said, "Listen, I just sat there and waited every at bat for a fastball." And that was it. I was looking fastball, and pitchers could get me out if I didn't get the fastball to hit during that at bat. There's a reason why, if you're successful in baseball, 30% of the time you're an all-star, right? It's very hard to do. So that little bit kind of gives you an advantage. Also, what they were doing is swinging for the fences. They're not trying to put the ball in play. They're trying to put the ball out of play into the stands. So, but on the Dusty Baker thing, yeah, it's fun to watch, right? Because Dusty has never won. He's been in baseball for a long, long time. He's never won as a manager. He managed the Giants and got pretty close, but he's never won. And this is, it's a good story. Listen, say what you want about the Astros. I'm not one of those fans that can't give credit where credit's due. I'm not an idiot that goes on and puts my Astros hat on only when they're winning. And somehow became an Astros fan while I live in New York. stop eating, dude. But so anyway, what I say here is the Astros did the right thing. Like, they stabilized their franchise with Dusty Baker. You know, what they did was they went out there and they had to fire their manager during the drama. They had to do all that, you know, that craziness. Cora, Beltran. I mean, like, it was like clean sweep. Goodbye, everyone. And they brought in Dusty Baker because Dusty Baker is supposed to be that calming influence, that baseball guy, that guy that you know is going to do stuff the right way. You know what I mean? The guy who's going to go out there and he's going to, you know, make sure that there's no cheating. You know, he is one of those deals where it's like, cool. You know, we know it's Dusty. We're kosher. And he's never won. It'd be nice to see him win. The fans love him. You know, obviously the players rally around him. And Houston did the right thing when they brought him in.
I'm just thinking, who's Cage talking about? Who's he telling to stop eating, and who lives in New York? Where's Astros? I'm just hitting.
My son. He's in the Halloween candy.
Story post. I love it. I love.
You could have that. You could have, just don't eat too many of them, man. You already don't feel well. You're gonna eat.
He's eating candy for a fever.
Yeah, I mean, listen, a kid doesn't feel well.
Fixed by Twix.
Fixed by Twix. Exactly. Stop eating. Lunatic. But anyway, yeah, man. I mean, it is what it is. But someone put a Houston Astros hat on my head in a story post. That was good. You know?
I saw that. That was pretty funny.
I like it, man. I mean, I put a hat on somebody's head yesterday. Some stranger, some crazy lady who didn't look like she was smiling at all at the Dallas Mavericks game. I mean, this is what we do.
I personally think we need to realize what the internet truly is, and it's meant for jokes. It's meant for humor. It's meant for taking the piss, as they say in the UK. Which, by the way, a lot of awesome UK content coming out. Card Ladder, the Card Talk guys, they put out a cool vlog from UK. They're at a show there, you know, F1, soccer is the dominant two sports. So it's really cool to see what across the pond they collect. So you got to give credit where credit's due. We take the piss, but we give credit too. I think that's fair, right?
Sure. I want a proper hamburger. That's what I want.
You're going to have to go to McDonald's.
Okay.
All right. So we had a lot of amazing stuff, guys. So cool pseudo achievement, I guess. We're right near 1 million downloads all time. 1 million downloads. So about 720,000 listens all time on Apple and Spotify, and about 250 on YouTube. So next few weeks we'll be crossing that, and that's just a thanks to you guys. I don't think we have the biggest audience. You know, the hobby's still so niche. But the crazy thing is the people that listen, they listen every single day. You know, they tell their friends, they tell their enemies, and our audience is growing. You guys basically listen from start to finish, which is crazy for our retention numbers. And our new show, you guys love Cajun when it comes to NBA talk and, you know, best dunkers, flops. So you guys love the Cajun content. And now we added the Black Jaded Wolf Uncaged. And like, it's like a breath of fresh air. The comments are awesome, man, because Sharon is like the hardest working woman in show business, you know, at every show, great vibes, never calls anybody out, like just good vibes. So thank you.
Knows her shit. She knows her shit.
Give us a few recaps from that second episode, if you don't mind.
So a little prep work for shows. I mean, Sharon Black Jaded Wolf's now been at every show, like every weekend since I think July, with no weekends off. Literally show. Some weekends have 2 shows. You have to decide, do you split up your team and go to multiple shows, or do you just, you know, in one, and just going to Boston this coming weekend. But a little prep in, like, you know, what are the pain points in prep? Sometimes there's a lot of work that goes into it as far as pricing, you know, and you don't want to be sitting there at the show like, okay, what's the comp? What's the deal? We talked about what happens when a dealer has a sticker on the card, like the price sticker's there, and the card value might have gone up. And somebody comes over and is like, okay, is that really that price? And what do you do in that situation? Of course, it doesn't surprise you. I'm sure that she honors the price. But we got into a fun one because, you know, of course, I like to ask follow-up questions. And I'm like, all right, has anybody ever passed? And you were like, dude, like here, I'm going to let you get away with one here. Like, that's an $800 card, and my price is still $400 from a couple weeks ago. You sure you're passing? Because once you leave, that sticker's coming off. So we got into that a little bit. And yes, it has happened, which is pretty funny. And we talked about like what's going on.
That's really interesting. That's really interesting. Did she know which cards that happened to? Like, When would that play out? Like I was at a show 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I brought my inventory, and now this card.
Well,
concept.
so how could it play out? It would play out like this. Like, let's just say that Darius Garland just came back last night and had a great game, but you were at a show 2 weeks ago before the season started when he was injured, and you priced one of his rookie optic hollow autos at, I don't know, $400. I'm just giving you a price, right? At the show next week, a couple weeks later, you still have that card. It's not one that you even, it's not top of mind of you, but he has now averaged 38 points a game for his first 6 games. He's got 12 assists a game, and all of a sudden, he looks like the leader of the Cavs, so, clear-cut all-star if he keeps it up. And recent sales of that card is now $800, and you have it on your table. Somebody walks over to the show and says, "Is that really $400? Or what's the price? The price is $400." And you say, "Yeah." I mean, she basically was like, "I honor the prices that I have on my cards. Otherwise, what the?"
And that's because she has so much. She has inventory where she knows what she's into it, right? Like for her.
Well, listen, I'm sure it doesn't happen that often, right? Where a card has gone up and that kind of stuff. I'm sure something like that, she's probably good enough to most of the time catch that. But I think when you're traveling every single weekend and you come back from a show on Tuesday and you're already starting to prep to leave for the show on Thursday, you don't have a chance to go over every card in your showcase to reprice every single one. I'm sure you take a look at it, you do what you can, but there's probably an instance where that happens. And we talked about what you do when that does happen. We talked about what you do and do not put out in your showcases, depending upon what the show is. Talk about like a regional show like Boston. What you do bring, what you don't bring, what you should be looking to do. Selling Mac Jones cards, hey, bring your Mac Jones cards. It might be the best opportunity you have all year if you want to liquidate from Mac Jones. What about Justin Herbert? And her take on it was, I'm not even putting my Herberts out because I don't want to sell them for the prices people are paying right now. There's a lot of stuff like that. A little bit behind the scenes about shows. So, we don't really get to talk about that too much in the hobby. It's funny. You call it show business. It's funny.
Show business, right? I've just been thinking a lot, man, about, cards, what drives the hobby, liquidity. How many people do you think buy cards on using credit card?
A lot. Not at shows, right? At shows, it's probably mostly a cash business. But a lot use credit card. I mean, for most of my card buying life, if I was buying on eBay, I was buying with a credit card on through PayPal. And
you would pay off the credit card at the end
of the month. Hopefully.
It's just interesting, like, how a lot of this stuff is really tied together. Because, like, I heard an interesting stat. Like, you went to the bank, right, just 6 months to a year ago, and you were like, hey, I could afford an $1,800 monthly payment. Like, what could that get me? It was a $500,000 house.
We talked about that.
$500,000 house at 3% was $1,800 a month. Now, with like interest rates for like if you have a 650 credit score, right? That interest rate's like 8.3 for a house. Do you want to take a guess what you can afford? What kind of house you could afford?
Like 375,
310.
Oof, even worse.
And that's so interesting. Like to afford a $500,000 house, right? Your monthly payment just a year or 6 months ago was $1,800 a month. Fast forward, same exact house, you'd have to pay $3,000 a month to afford that exact same house. And just all that's changed is the interest on a 30-year mortgage. And that has to have some effect trickling down into cards and Rolex watches, wines, automobiles. Like, remember used cars that for some time were almost as expensive as new cars? So, like, it's just funny, like, if we kind of, like, the reframe video I did, it did really well and a lot of different comments. It's just, like, maybe things are just normal now. Maybe just shit was so out of whack for 2 years that, like, we almost got used to, like, status quo. Like, maybe this is just normal life now.
I mean, I think we very quickly have swung the pendulum in the exact opposite direction. So, not to get into politics at all, because I try not to, but Twitter was taken over by Elon Musk recently, and the fact checking is now.
Can I even pause you before, because I really want to hear this, but like, do you feel that we have an obligation because politics does impact us that touch the part of politics that matters to us, though? Like, I know we try to stay away from it.
I only don't talk about it because there's just so many avenues for people to get their politics advice or politics fill or news or that stuff that I'm sure that, the hour a day they come here. If they wanted to get politics, there's a million other places to get it. Whereas to talk hobby and cards and escape from the seriousness of that, yes, that's why I stay away from. But to the extent that it dovetails with the overall economy and how that impacts the hobby and stuff, I think it's okay to get into. Sure. Yeah, not a problem. That was where I was going, by the way. It was one of those things where, your question is, is this just back to normal? And I think the pendulum was far skewed one way, but we swung it back, but we didn't stop at normal. We swung it all the way past and went back the other way. And the best example is, I was saying how Elon Musk, took over Twitter, and the fact checking is now going on in both directions.
Right.
Like the White House Twitter account was never fact checked before. And yesterday, so I took a picture of it because I knew they were going to delete it. So I have a picture of it. But the White House posted, this is going to be, the elderly are going to receive their largest Social Security increase ever, thanks to the hard work of President Biden. And the fact check was actually the reason why Social Security is going up is because of the record inflation rate, and Social Security is tied to inflation. Like it goes up based on inflation, and it's an automatic increase that was put in 1972 by President Nixon. And that was the fact check. And it was, I mean, I don't care about the fact checking, the politics of the whole deal, but what it tells you is the economy is swinging back to what it was in the 70s, where I know when my parents bought their house in 1972, 15%? Their mortgage rate was like 12% or something, it might have been not that in 72, but maybe in 73 or 74. Like, interest rates were ridiculously high then. Inflation was high. So, I mean, I watched the Fed announce their 75-point hike again yesterday, and say that they're going to continue to do this because they want inflation to get back down to 2%, which means that the rates as high as they are now, we're going to see mortgage rates at like 8% or whatever. Like it's going to go higher.
If I remember correctly, I think 70s were stagflation, right? When there's still inflation, but the economy kind of comes to a halt.
Yes, which is even worse.
But am I right? Like, did my education do well?
Yeah.
It was that's what stagflation is. When you still have inflation, maybe it's not 8-9%, but it's 5% by whatever way you measure it. But like you see unemployment increase and the economy struggle. So I watched the Biden speech for like 20 minutes. I was interested and surprised he doesn't really care that much about the economy. He cares a lot more about like climate and stuff.
I wouldn't say that at all. What I would say is it's strategy, right?
Talked about the elections coming up.
He can't talk about the economy because obviously the economy is not a point for them to make for re-election. So when you can't talk about the economy, if the economy is bad, then obviously his talking points for his speech are not going to be about the economy. It would be like LeBron going out there and talking about Anthony Davis's health as a positive. It's it's not something he can
cat eating Popeyes or
so,
Anthony Edwards eating Popeyes.
Yeah, so I mean he can't but where when you want to strengthen your base and you want to get you want to rally the troops to go and vote, you hit home on things where your supporters are gonna give you credit. I mean
Paul Pelosi's attack, and we're not going to know about the votes for a few days.
I mean, listen, what does that do? That harkens back to the opponents are the ones that caused problems. Try to steal your election. Don't let them steal your election. Make sure you go and vote. And don't worry, look the other way if it's 3 days. We're getting too far into politics. For me, the economy is an important thing. And the fact that we're talking about midterm elections and the uncertainty that comes with that does impact. It impacts people's cash. It impacts people's free spending, and it impacts the hobby. Because of people's spending habits being changed.
I interpreted it differently. I interpreted like we don't really care about the economy because we're good. The people in our corner are good. So like we don't care about the economy. That's how I interpret it.
I would say that all right, it's one interpretation. I have a different one, and it's when you're trying to make yourself and your side look good, you try to hit on the points that you may have done well. And I don't think the economy is something that, they want to, go out and shout from the rooftops what a great job they're doing presently.
Didn't I till you die? Ari Gold said that once in an Entourage episode. Does it surprise you? So I'll tell you a team that I think let's talk about this Lakers team. You know, they have the same record as the Warriors.
2 straight wins. Got a little momentum going in there. So we talked about baseball. You know, a smart person said momentum's only as good as your next day starting pitcher. So Phillies could go out there and, you know, hit 5 home runs and score 7 runs. The next day they get no hit. The next day, a starting pitcher shows up and changes momentum, and now the Astros are favored in the series again. So yeah, not only are the Lakers the same record, but they got some momentum.
I would say your success in a regular season, if I use that same, depends on a good bench. Okay. I think we look at starters in the NBA, but the reality is who are guys 6 through 10 that come in and don't lose you the game and sometimes could win you. And I think the biggest change is Westbrook coming off the bench, man. The bad shooting can be improved. There's no way you can play AD, LeBron, and Westbrook on the court starting the game and playing most minutes together. But if you could do AD and LeBron, which won you the championship, and then you have Westbrook as your 6th man that just go, it's a team that could find its form. And they're not going to shoot 8% or 20% from 3 because at the end of the day, they're still pros, right?
Yep.
So that's something you could shore up. And it's interesting how early on we are in the season where we overreact. I'll go the complete opposite way, man. This Nets team, from just top to bottom organizationally, Cage, you guys all know about, wanting to get Steve Nash fired and demanding a trade and Kyrie not playing because of the vaccine and Kyrie posting weird shit online. But then after all that, Sean Marks, who's the GM, comes out and we're hiring Ime Udoka. How do you even let something like that leak to Wash? Like, how unprofessional top to bottom is that organization?
So you're bookending this with what I talked about with Dusty Baker, because I knew you were going to go here. And I started off by talking about how when a franchise is in turmoil, what they did was they went out and they said, okay, we've made some mistakes here. We're going to hire the right guy, right? We're going to go out there and hire Dusty Baker, and he is going to solidify this bench, solidify the organization, and give the impression to folks, at the very least, that we are above reproach.
Is Imo that guy, though?
No, they went the exact opposite way.
Okay.
They went the it's a compare and contrast.
Okay.
Right? Okay. Like, okay, if Steve Nash is your problem and you have, he's not the guy who's going to take the attention away from your bad play, the whole deal. You want to hire somebody who's like above reproach, somebody who's done this before, somebody who is like a no-nonsense basketball guy, and someone who is a name. Right, and someone who's respected in the league. I mean, I'm trying to think of like the first one that comes to my
Larry
mind.
Brown.
Larry Brown is a good one. Seriously, that's a good one. Van Gundy, Jeff Van Gundy, coax him out of the box. Everybody loves him. He's now friends with everyone in the world, and he's I'm coming in and it's no nonsense. Nothing like that happens on my watch. Like that's what you need. Not all right. I'm going to take the attention off my players by putting it squarely on me. I mean, like, no, that's.
And whichever way you slice the Udoka, like, there's probably people who are like, who cares? Personal life's personal life too.
Correct.
That's disgusting. Anywhere you fall in that spectrum, why would you bring him in now to that team?
Must be what KD asked for.
So it's just crazy, man. I remember we had Conrad on our show. And Conrad and I were really big fans of Atkinson, that team was like 3-4 years ago. They had the bench mob. Remember, they were all dancing, and you had D'Lo and you had Theo Pinson, and I think I said his name right. Dudley, like it was just a fun team. And just to see how far they've fallen, man, it's shocking organizationally, man.
Back on the Lakers, the recipe for success. Remember, they're 2-5, but they could have very easily have lost last night's game. Yeah. I mean, it's a good thing the Colts moved to Sam Ehlinger so that the Lakers could pick up Matt Ryan and, have him there at the end of the game to hit that shot. But what I saw from that is, look, you have superstars on the team. You've talked about this. Westbrook, former MVP, first ballot Hall of Famer likely. LeBron, one of the greatest of all time. Anthony Davis, supposed to be a top 10 player in the league. They're understanding their roles. Lonnie Walker might be their athlete, might be their slasher, might be the guy who did what Malik Monk did for them last year, which they need. And the last second shot, let a shooter shoot. Let Reeves throw the ball in, find Ryan and let him shoot. And who wasn't shooting? Who had 0 points for Pat Bev. He won the game last night. He didn't score. He had 0 points. If this team can understand what their roles are, and realize that it shouldn't be Pat Bev shooting at the last minute. That if you need a three, you have people who can shoot that three, right? I mean, the Heat got far letting Duncan Robinson take some of their shots, right? So you've put a role-playing team together. Yes, you have these world beaters out there, but I was happy to see Matt Ryan hit. I'm right? 0 points?
0 points, 0 for 3.
Yeah, it only took 3 shots. And it's selfless, right? You have your role. His role is to be annoying on defense. It's the same thing like the Nets. You know what should happen next? Whoever their coach is, someone should come out publicly and say Ben Simmons' job is not to play offense. Someone should have his back. Someone should have
that though,
but not loud enough. They should be talking about how Ben he's the best defender. We have him on the team. The team is a puzzle, and each puzzle piece fits in the right way. They should say it every damn press conference. All the good things he did, because he clearly can play, but has something going on up here that they need to continue to reinforce and support the whole deal. And that team goes nowhere if they don't get meaningful minutes out of him. And Durant is amazing, man. I mean, he can't do it himself.
Well, they're good talents. I'll tell you, I'm going to push back a little bit. That coach that actually got the most out of Ben Simmons is Brett Brown. And there was a thing he said was, I want Ben's going to shoot 1 3-pointer every single game.
I remember that.
You remember
that? Yeah, I remember.
We got a little pushback there. Like, why do you put pressure on them? It's like, you got to at some point put pressure on these guys. And you got to hold them accountable. And he's like, if he's not going to shoot 1 3-pointer a game, I'm going to bench him. I think that actually got the best out of him.
Can't bench him.
You can bench him.
Can't bench him. They're not going to go anywhere.
That's the big thing in the NBA that doesn't happen that happens in soccer. Like in soccer, they bench their stars. Like Ronaldo got benched when he was and then he walked off, and they're like, "You're not above the team. This is Man U, and then you're Ronaldo on the team." NBA, it's like,
they should have named it Man We. It would make it better when he walks off. They could be like, "This is Man U." Oh, wait a second, it is. It's Man We.
Such a dude. So yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna let you get back to Ian. A shorter episode, guys. A lot of awesome stuff coming up. If you're going to be in Dallas, I'll be there. Occasion's going to be there. Stop by. Philly show in 1 month.
Is Philly going to win or Houston? I know you're not a baseball guy. You don't like to do predictions, but in the World Series, from what you've seen from the whole deal, it's hard to make a prediction here.
I don't like predictions that I don't know. Like, I want Philly to win, man. I just think we're the best fans in the country. I really do. I think you hear there's like the brand of like, hey, Philly fans are aggressive. Fight. You haven't seen any of that. You just see like everybody turn out, show out, so excited. So
I know you haven't gambled in a long time, but we should spend some time in an episode in the next day or two talk about Mattress Mac and the cantaloupe-sized balls that guy has. I don't think he's hedging anything. I don't think, it would be easy for him to hedge now because the Astros are favorites again. I think he wins like $75 million or some crazy number if the Astros win. He's just, it's a fun little story.
There's more than meets the eye, right? So like maybe it's his marketing strategy, and maybe he's made $250 million in sales on mattresses, win or lose.
Well, I think it was like he was giving away mattresses if they win. Okay. So like if they win, he's giving away mattresses. So he has to have a bet. The bet itself is a hedge because, if they win, he wins this money and it offsets giving away the mattresses. So, yeah, I think it is already something like that. But like I said, it's fun to talk about.
It is. But that to me is like the same thing as like Drake opening flawless cases. Who paid for the flawless cases? Is it Drake's money? Is it like a marketing money? There's more than meets the eye. You have to look a little bit deeper and think, why is this person doing? I doubt he's just risking $75 million for shits and giggles at 90 years old.
We don't do it enough. I'll give out flowers for content here. One quick one. It'll be 30 seconds. Take a look at Rick Probstein's page, right? Okay. Not for consignments, not for anything else, but other than this, he does some fun little content on there. And today he posted a video opening up. I think it was from 1962. It's how one of the ways ice cream was made. It was an ice cream powder. It's called freezing powder. And in the 60s, what you did was you would dump this into milk and whip it up and put it in your freezer and make ice cream. Yes, sounds disgusting. Likely was disgusting.
You would eat it.
I would totally eat it. Forget about it. I would 100% eat it. But the reason why he was showing that off, and it was like 2 for 35 cents, it was like 17 cents, is it had coins in it of baseball players. And you could get a Mantle coin and the whole deal. So he was doing an opening. But it wasn't a select, first off the line, wipe my ass, done wrist tops, chromey bullshit. It was 1962, like baseball coin. And so take a look. It's the kind of content that like I enjoy. It is a nice contrast to what we see as far as like the rips and the openings and the snake skins and the shaking, I'm shaking. I've never seen that product. I've never seen that opened. He did not get the mantle, but I mean, it's different type of stuff to watch and show. I like it because it shows this stuff has been happening for decades. Sure.
Guys, and that brings me to the last point. We're gonna release our first ever like live show vlog, right? And I think it's gonna be a little bit different. We'll obviously we'll improve it, and we'd love to hear you guys' feedback, good, bad, and different. But you were nerding out over old school cards, right? We see vlogs, and it's like, here's this MT, here's this flawless, this guy's the best. It was cool to see you in your element. Like one of my favorite things in life is seeing people talk and do things that are like their zone of genius. Can we call it? And you with vintage cards, especially vintage history, and you geek out, man. And I think it's so cool. And I've gotten the privilege to see that over the years. And I think our audience is going to love that as they watch these vlogs over the next 12, 18 months. They're going to be like, Cage has got a lot of you have a lot of vintage historic baseball knowledge that I think people will be really, really curious about.
There's some cool stuff. That show, I saw cards that I had never seen before. I saw items I'd never seen before. So that's fun. That is a cool thing for somebody like me. So yeah, enjoy the vlog. Go easy on us. It's our first try doing this, but if you like it, we'll do more.
And shout out to our team, man. They took that and ran with it in stride. Thank you, guys. Peace, Luca Nation.
So thank you all for listening to another episode of Lucas, Tigers, and Bronze Oh My. I wanted to tell you about a new service that we have starting as of today, and I'm really, really excited to bring it to you guys. So as a part of our partnership with SGC, we got 50 free submissions every single month, and many of you have taken advantage of that. And it's amazing that we could have the opportunity to 650 episodes, 675 episodes in, to go ahead and give back to our community. As people were sending those cards in, they asked, can we send 5, 10, 20 more cards to you guys? We'll pay for it, but we wanted them graded with SGC. You guys know SGC is turning cards around in 13 to 14 business days, have incredible customer service, and their secondary market values are going up day after day after day. And that's exciting for the hobby and exciting for the grading landscape. So we didn't want to just rush into it. We wanted to do it right. And what we did was I relocated here to Boca Raton, Florida. I opened up a P.O. box maybe 5 minutes away from SGC, and I will be hand delivering and hand picking up the cards. So you don't have to worry about anyone else touching your cards. It will be me, and I will update you every step of the way. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to personally pick up the cards from a P.O. box, prep them, new card saver, new penny sleeve, and deliver them to SGC every single Tuesday. Why Tuesday? Well, it lets the stragglers over the weekend come back through on Monday and gives me a day to prep, and it basically gives SGC the entire week to work on grading those cards. Once your cards pop, only then at the end of the process will you be paying for the service. It's $25 per card, simple as that, and the turnaround times have never been faster. We're hearing right now 13, 14, less than 20 business days. So there it is. 9170 Glades Road, number 135 is the P.O. Box in Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. 9170 Glades Road, number 135, Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. Of course, you could shoot me an email or shoot me a text anytime, and I'm always available. Many of you already have my email. It's iamandrewgoldberg@gmail.com. or my cell phone number, 215-519-9154. Reach out with any questions. I could walk you through the process. I've hopped on the call with quite a few of you, and I'm happy to do that. Love you, Luca Nation.